Joining me now is John Martin from 92.9 FM, the ESPN station in Memphis. I have Kevin Sweeney with me. I have Randolph Childress with me. And of course, we're on Sirius XM, the ESPNU station, channel 84. John, what's going on, man? Thanks for being here. It's you doing all right down there? You hanging in?
Maintaining, man, best I can. Just try not to ask any stupid fucking questions. Is that okay?
Yeah, so I hope so. But yeah, so let's talk about that, man, because you did a great job just quoting Penny Hardaway there. So in all seriousness, though, can you just kind of take me through, like, what is it like in Memphis right now? What is the vibe for the Memphis fans?
I mean, it's like a high wire act, like just a very delicate situation where anything is possible, is what I would say. I think there's a very real loyalty to Penny because, as we talked about before, man, when you're from here and you're of here, you know what I mean? You're Memphis. It's a different place. That being said, I think there's an expectation to win because you're set up to do that. You have loyal boosters, you have great salaries, you have an unbelievable recruiting base, you have unbelievable fans. I mean, and you play in a bad league. You play in a league that you, in theory, could run through like X-Lax through your fat ass mama, right? Like, that's the truth. So you have everything built in to win. And so I think there's a little bit of a butting of heads of, we love Penny and we love everything he's meant to us and this city and this program, but we also know you have to win. You have to get it done. You have to make tournaments. You have to take advantage of number one recruiting classes. So it's a trapeze, you know what I mean? Like, it's a trapeze act right now that they got it done on the road today against Tulsa, which has been a real, headache for them over the last few years with very few players. And we'll kind of see where it goes from there.
John, what's at the point of this? Like, you guys, we hear the rumors, we hear things is going out there. You seem to be there and plug in. Like, what's the issue going on in Memphis? Is it, what's the, if you had to point the finger at one thing other than saying, hey, you should win, you got recruiting classes, just like what's the issue?
Well, I mean, I think the biggest problem has been, you've really not done a great job of identifying with the guys you have what they need to do and who they need to be, right? Like, all right, you're my point guard, you're my scorer, you're my four-man. Penny, and I get it, man, because that's recruiting. Dog, you went through it, right? Like, right. You heard a lot of shit, right? Like, oh, you're gonna be this for me, and you're gonna be that for me, and you're gonna, right? You say things in the recruiting process that may or may not come to fruition. That's part of it, right?
Right.
I think Penny has said a lot of times, to these, he's maybe made promises that, haven't come to fruition, and you get into a situation where guys don't know what they're supposed to do. They don't know how they're supposed to play. They don't know, am I the starter? He's had 13 starting lineups, and you can point to injuries, you can point, but a lot of, and this goes back to last year. I mean, this is not a situation that's, this is an isolated year, right? This is an isolated incident. This is a Penny era. You know what I mean? He's had a real issue with identifying who his best 6, 7, 8 guys are. And I get it because you coach a lot of these kids when you were at East High School, Team Penny, et cetera, et cetera. But, this is big time basketball, man. You got to put that shit to the side. Who's going to help you win games and who's not? And I think that's been the biggest problem. Imani Bates, a lot of people talk about him. You try to make him a point guard because you have a loyalty to a guy that's not cut out for it because you coached him at East High School. And I get it. you've kind of raised the kid. But Alex Lomax is not a guy who can start for you and play 30 minutes a game. He's not good enough. Can't make a jumper. So, you try to make guys who aren't built for that position. You ask Imani Bates to do it. He's 17 years old. He's not built for that. He can't do that. It's not his game anyway. He needs to be able to see ball.
John, my biggest thing with Penny's complaints about kind of maybe the way that he's been covered and complaints about ways that people talk about him in the media and all that is you put this roster together, right? You saw the issues coming when it comes to not having a point guard. You know that if you're giving the ball to a 17-year-old who has spent his entire life being a scorer and a shooter and a chucker and playing a certain kind of way and asking him to change everything that he's known about basketball his entire life, as a kid that's supposed to be a senior in high school, like, you got to know that's not a great point guard situation. You got to, like, you can't then blame it on everything else because you put together a roster that didn't work in the way that you put it together, right? Like, that's at some point he kind of has to say, look, you know what, my bad. I did not do a good job doing what I was supposed to do building this. Like, to me, it just, from the outside, and I want your opinion on this, it feels like he's turning this on everybody instead of saying, you know what, I did some things wrong.
Oh, it's everybody else's fault except his own, because that's your life, man. That's your life. When you're Penny Hardaway, right? When you're Penny Hardaway, it's never your fault, right? You know what I mean? When has it ever been Penny's fault, ever, in his whole life?
Never been. I mean, when has he ever not won?
His whole life. Parade All-American, McDonald's All-American. What are we talking about? And I understand that. You know what I mean? I understand that. But when you say X, Y, and Z, my veterans don't want my freshmen to win. Okay, that's November when you're going through a 4-game losing streak. And then you get to January and your veterans are hurt. And you say, man, what do you expect? I don't have my veteran. His whole thing, I guess it was Thursday. His whole thing Thursday was, I'm starting 4 freshmen. Well, Earl Timberlake is a sophomore and he's 21 years old. He's not a freshman, right? And ultimately, your freshmen are among the best freshmen that have ever walked the face of this planet, right? Jalen,
I got a question on that though. Are they?
Well, they were certainly perceived as such,
and that's my point. So, what we all agreed that as talented as Imani Bates and Jalen Duren are, does any of us perceive them to be on the level of Paulo Banchero or Jabari Smith or Chet Holmgren? Do we think Imani's on that level?
Well, certainly not now, but how much of that comes down to development?
No, I don't disagree with that. But has he shown you that ability yet? And I don't want to make, again, he's 17, 18-year-old kid. I think he's going to be really good, right? But most freshmen are going to struggle. He's physically at a disadvantage physically. He's not 6'8", 6'9", 6'10", the other guys. He's physically has an adjustment to make in college. And again, do I think he's going to be a pro? He is. But just make no mistake about it, this young man came there thinking, yo, I'm one and done. I ain't going to be here long. I'm on campus 8 months. And that hadn't worked out.
But see, Randolph, I'm gonna take it to you like this. This season was not about Imani Bates. This season was not the Imani Bates experiment. This season was, you won the NIT last year, and you're bringing back the majority of those dudes, and you're adding, right, a unbelievably talented freshman Imani Bates and Jalen Duren, and now you're supposed to take the next step. But instead, they've regressed to a degree that nobody could have seen coming. They've regressed.
Where he's at fault, he has to own up on, like we said. You got that team that won an NIT, and you brought those guys in. But when those guys came in, you're right. Then when he made the press conference, like, oh, my older guys, my veteran guys, that's on you as a coach to say, hey, somebody got to sit down. We got to figure this out. You got to do that. I'll give him that.
Right.
But at some point, I mean, they barely won today. against Tulsa, and they were what 0-6 in the AAC.
And it took, by the way, I mean, out of body experience from 3. You know what I'm saying? Like, look at the numbers from 3. So you're exactly right. And if you're Penny, right? Can I curse? Rob, I don't know if I can curse on here, man.
Hey, look, we haven't been yelled at about it yet, so.
so I'm gonna tell you this: if I was Penny, right? If I'm Penny, I'm gonna say, I don't give a shit who you think you are. I don't care. I don't care who you were a year ago. I don't care who you were supposed to be. This is my program, right? And I demand X, Y, and Z. I'm not trying to be all things to all people, because inevitably when you try to do that, you can't make people happy. You're just going to piss everybody off. And so when you're Penny in this, to me, you have leverage. Because why? Because you're Penny. You're the man, bro. You got Shoe. You got first round draft pick. You got all pros to your name. You're the man, you know? So how dare you ever try to let somebody come in here and try to, dictate the way you run your program. I don't care really about the rest of the stuff. I don't care about how this coach feels or this handler feels. I'm gonna run my program the way I want to run it and the way I feel it should be run.
But John, let me ask you this.
John. With the results.
Let me ask you this. So I think the one thing that couldn't be questioned the first 3 years of Penny was like they played really, really hard. Like they were super bought in. Yep. It doesn't feel like that this year, especially on defense. Has he lost these guys?
Well, I mean, I think that's the one thing that you look at immediately, right? Like last year, I believe that last year they were number 1 in the country in defensive efficiency. And this year they're in the 50s, at least before this game. And I think that's a product of, I mean, he's questioned these guys publicly 15 different ways. And I think that works once. I think you can play that card one time. You know what I'm saying? You can play that card one time. After that, it's over, right? You get one chance at it. And he's gone back to it, and he's blamed the veterans, and he's blamed the freshmen. And I think you have a team that 13 different starting lineups, guys in and out, right? Injuries, what have you. I don't think they've quit on him. I think this is a team that, that really loves him, that really does believe in him. But I think the way that the rotations have gone and the uncertainty, I think it's hard to maintain that level of intensity game in and game out when truly you have no idea who's going to start, who's going to play. It's a mystery every single night.
Well, listen, John, I appreciate you coming on. I love your insight on Memphis. You know how much I've enjoy coming on your show. It's always a good time.
Is this? Are you kicking me off? Like I can.
Well, we got to go to break. We got to go to commercial. We got a commercial coming up. That's what I'm just trying to work to a commercial.
Yeah,
go ahead. Hey, if you got more to say, go ahead. If you got more to say, go ahead.
Man. I feel like how long we got left. I can kick it. I can talk Big Ten. I can talk about one bid leagues, ACC. I mean, I can talk about anything you want.
You're a man of many talents, brother.
John Martin on the field of 68 after dark.
Over 90.
All right,
Man.
Yeah.
John, I legit got about 25 texts being like, I think John Martin's really getting some stuff off his chest right now.
Now, when you text me at 10:15, I'm like, let me make sure I get a couple Miller Lights in me. You know what I'm saying? You said Randolph Children's going to be on this bitch. I got to be ready for this motherfucker, bro. I got to be ready, cuz.
Hey, John, you represent, no doubt about that. No doubt about that.
I got to, man. You know what? Like what I would say too, man, for real, is that the program is bigger than Penny.
It always is, no doubt. But they had to invest in Penny that way. When we say what we want. I can't think of his name right before Penny, and I'm sitting here having
Tubby Smith.
Tubby. They were winning under Tubby. Whether you like him or not, I thought they expected him to come in and take him to a level, and he did with his recruiting. He's got those guys, but
Tubby was, man. I mean, he he didn't do anything other than be who he was. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
that was just a bad fit, bad hire. Penny was the right hire at the right time. On that same token, though, you got to make a fucking tournament, cuz.
This is the problem with all of the marriages between the former star and like Georgetown's dealing with Patrick Ewing, obviously in a much less like high profile environment.